Fear to Fluency, My Journey to Mastering English, Tips that Changed Everything. Hi everyone, and welcome to Valuable English Learning Community. If you're watching this, chances are you're on a journey to learn English, just like I was. And let me tell you, it wasn't always easy. I started with fear, confusion, and a lot of mistakes. But today, I'm here to share how I went from fear to fluency, and how you can too. Learning English can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. With the right mindset and a few practical tips, faster than you think. After you've been learning for a while, this video is for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips and stories. Let's dive in. Let me take you back to where it all began. When I first started learning English, I was terrified. I didn't understand anything, and every time I tried to speak, I felt like I was making a fool of myself. But then, I realized something important. Everyone starts somewhere. And with the right mindset and tools, I could improve. The first game changer for me was listening. I started listening to English every single day. Songs, stories, podcasts, even the news. At first, I didn't understand much, but slowly, the words started to make sense. I remember listening to a story about a lost cat. It was simple, but it helped me learn so many new words. The more I listened, the more I started to recognize patterns, phrases, and even the rhythm of the language. Pro tip: start with something you enjoy. If you love music, listen to English songs. If you're into movies, watch them with subtitles. The more you listen, the more your brain gets used to the language. And here's a bonus tip. Try to listen actively. That means paying attention to how words are pronounced, how sentences are structured, and even the tone of voice. You'll be surprised how much you can learn just by listening. Let me give you an example. When I was learning, I used to listen to a podcast called Easy English Stories. At first, I only understood a few words here and there, but I kept listening every day, on my way to work, while cooking, even before bed. One day I realized I could understand almost the entire story without looking at the transcript. That was such a proud moment for me. It showed me that consistency really pays off. So, if you're feeling stuck, start with listening. It's one of the easiest and most effective ways to improve your English. Now, let's talk about something that might make you a little nervous at first. Speaking. I know. It's scary to speak when you're not confident. But here's the truth. Mistakes are your best teachers. When I was learning, I used to practice speaking English every day, even if it was just talking to myself in the mirror. I made so many mistakes, but each one taught me something new. For example, I remember once trying to say, I am hungry, but instead I said, I am anger. My friend laughed and corrected me, and guess what? I never made that mistake again. Pro tip: find a language partner or join an online community. There are so many people out there who want to practice just like you. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're part of the process. And if you don't have someone to practice with, try recording yourself. Listen to how you sound, and you'll start noticing areas where you can improve. Trust me, it works. Let me share a story with you. My first real conversation in English was with a friend who spoke the language fluently. I was so nervous that I kept mixing up words and forgetting what to say. But my friend was patient and encouraging. We talked about simple things at first: the weather, our favorite foods, and our hobbies. Over time, those conversations became more natural. I started using new words and phrases I'd learned, and my confidence grew. So, don't wait until you're perfect to start speaking. The sooner you start, the faster you'll improve. Another big step for me was reading and writing. I started with simple books, ones with pictures and easy words. They help me understand how sentences are formed and how words are used in context. One of my favorite books was a children's story about a lost cat. It was simple, but I loved it. I learned so many new words from that story, like search, meow, and kindness. And writing? That was a game changer. I kept a small notebook where I wrote about my day, my dreams, and even my favorite foods. At first, my sentences were short and full of mistakes, but over time, they became longer and more accurate. Pro tip: start small. Write a few sentences every day. It could be about your day, your family, or even your favorite movie. The more you write, the more confident you'll become. Here's an example of how writing helped me. I used to write about my daily routine in English. One day I wrote, I wake up at 7 a.m., I eat breakfast. I go to work. Simple, right? But over time, I started adding more details, like, I wake up at 7 a.m. feeling refreshed. I enjoy a delicious breakfast of toast and eggs before heading to work. Writing not only improved my vocabulary, but also helped me think in English. It's a powerful tool, and I highly recommend it. Now let's talk about something that's just as important as practicing: patience. Learning a language is a journey, and like any journey, it has its ups and downs. There were days when I felt like giving up, but I reminded myself to be patient. I celebrated every small win, whether it was learning 5 new words, understanding a whole sentence in a movie, or having a short conversation without stumbling. Those small victories kept me motivated and reminded me that I was making progress. Pro tip: set small, achievable goals. Maybe it's learning 10 new words this week or reading 1 page of a book every day. And when you reach those goals, celebrate. Treat yourself to something you love: a piece of chocolate, your favorite show, or even a little dance party. You deserve it. Let me tell you about my first aha moment. I was watching a cartoon. Yes, a cartoon. And for the first time, I understood the entire dialogue without looking at the subtitles. I was so excited that I called my friend and told her all about it. That moment showed me that all the listening, practicing, and reading were paying off. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. So, don't underestimate the power of small wins. They add up, and before you know it, you'll be speaking English with confidence. Surround yourself with English. Here's another tip that made a huge difference for me. Surround yourself with English. This means trying to make English a part of your daily life. I started by changing the language on my phone to English. At first, it was a little confusing, but soon I got used to it. Every time I used my phone, I learned something new, like the word settings or notification. I also started labeling things around my house with their English names. My mirror had a sticky note that said mirror. My desk said desk, and even my coffee mug said coffee. It was a fun way to learn new words without even trying. How immersion helped me. Here's a funny story. One day, I was cooking dinner, and I realized I didn't know the English word for garlic, so I quickly looked it up and stuck a note on the garlic jar. From that day on, I never forgot the word garlic. Surrounding yourself with English doesn't have to be complicated. It's about finding small ways to make the language a part of your everyday life. Whether it's listening to English music, watching movies, or even thinking in English, every little bit helps. Use technology to your advantage. Let's talk about something we all have access to: technology. There are so many apps, websites, and tools that can help you learn English faster. I used apps like Duolingo for vocabulary, YouTube for listening practice, and even language exchange apps to find people to practice with. One of my favorites was an app that let me record myself speaking and compare it to native speakers. It was a game changer for my pronunciation. Pro tip: explore different apps and tools to see what works best for you. Whether it's flashcards, quizzes, or language games, there's something out there for everyone. How apps helped me. Here's an example of how technology helped me. I used a flashcard app to learn new words every day. At first, I could only remember a few, but over time, I built up a whole library of words in my mind. One day, I was watching a movie, and I heard a word I'd learned from the app. I was so excited that I paused the movie and told everyone in the room, "I know that word." It was such a proud moment. So, don't be afraid to use technology to your advantage. It's like having a personal tutor in your pocket. Learn through stories and emotions. Here's a fun fact. Our brains love stories. When I was learning English, I realized that I remembered words and phrases better when they were part of a story or connected to emotions. For example, I once read a short story about a boy who lost his dog. It was so emotional that I still remember the words search, lonely, and reunite. Those words stuck with me because they were tied to a story that made me feel something. Pro tip: try learning through stories. Read short stories, watch movies, or even create your own stories using the words you're learning. When you connect words to emotions or experiences, they become unforgettable. The power of emotional learning. Let me share a personal example. I was watching a movie called The Pursuit of Happiness, and there was a scene where the main character, played by Will Smith, was struggling to provide for his son. I felt so connected to his emotions that I learned words like struggle, determination, and hope without even trying. That's the power of emotional learning. It's not just about memorizing words, it's about connecting them to feelings and experiences. So, the next time you watch a movie or read a story, pay attention to how it makes you feel. Those emotions will help you remember the words forever. Think in English. Here's a challenge for you. Start thinking in English. I know it sounds hard, but trust me, it's one of the best ways to improve your fluency. When I first started, I would think in my native language and then translate it into English in my head. But over time, I trained myself to think directly in English. For example, instead of thinking, "What's the weather like today?" in my native language, I started thinking, "Is it sunny or rainy today?" Pro tip: start small. Think about simple things like your daily routine, your favorite foods, or your plans for the day. The more you practice, the easier it will become. Thinking in English helped me. Here's how thinking in English changed my life. One day, I was at a cafe and I wanted to order a coffee. Instead of translating in my head, I just thought, "I'd like a cappuccino, please." And guess what? I said it perfectly. That moment showed me that thinking in English wasn't just a fun exercise. It was a powerful tool for improving my speaking skills. So, give it a try. Start thinking in English, and you'll see the difference. You can also play games in English. I used to play word games like Scrabble and crossword puzzles. They were not only fun, but also helped me learn new words and improve my spelling. I also played online quiz games where I had to answer questions in English. Pro tip: turn learning into a game. Play word games, solve puzzles, or even try English language video games. When you're having fun, you don't even realize you're learning. How games made learning fun. Here's a funny story. I was playing a word game with my friends, and I had to come up with as many words as possible in 1 minute. I was so focused that I accidentally shouted, "Banana," in the middle of the game. Everyone laughed, but guess what? I never forgot that word again. Games make learning enjoyable and stress-free. So the next time you're feeling bored, grab a game and start playing. You'll be learning without even realizing it. Immerse yourself in English culture. Here's something that really boosted my English skills. Learning about English culture. Language and culture are deeply connected, and understanding one helps you understand the other. I started exploring English-speaking cultures through movies, music, and even food. I learned about holidays like Thanksgiving, traditions like afternoon tea, and even slang words like chill and awesome. Pro tip: dive into English-speaking cultures, watch documentaries, try cooking English recipes, or even celebrate English holidays. The more you immerse yourself, the more natural the language will feel. How culture helped me. Here's an example. I was watching a British TV show and I heard the phrase, "It's raining cats and dogs." At first, I was confused. Why would cats and dogs fall from the sky? But then I learned that it's just a fun way to say it's raining heavily. That phrase stuck with me because it was tied to a cultural expression. So, don't just learn the language, learn the culture behind it. It'll make your learning journey so much richer. The power of consistency. Now let's talk about something that might sound simple but is incredibly powerful: consistency. Learning English isn't about studying for hours one day and then forgetting about it for a week. It's about doing a little bit every single day. When I was learning, I made it a habit to practice English for at least 15 minutes every day. Some days I listened to a podcast. Other days, I wrote in my journal or practiced speaking with a friend. It didn't matter what I did, as long as I did something. Pro tip: set a daily goal, even if it's small. It could be learning one new word, reading one paragraph, or listening to one song. The key is to stay consistent. Over time, those small efforts will add up to big results. The 15-minute miracle. Let me tell you a story that changed my life. When I first started learning English, I was overwhelmed. I didn't have hours to study every day, and I felt like I wasn't making progress. Then I met a teacher who gave me the best advice I've ever received. She said, "Just give me 15 minutes a day, that's all, but do it every single day." At first, I didn't believe her. How could 15 minutes make a difference? But I decided to give it a try. Every morning, I spent 15 minutes listening to an English podcast while having my coffee. Some days, I understood only a few words. Other days, I understood more. But I kept going. After a month, something amazing happened. I was watching a movie, and for the first time, I understood an entire scene without subtitles. I was so excited that I called my teacher and told her, "It worked! The 15 minutes worked!" That's when I realized the power of consistency. It's not about how much you do in one day, it's about what you do every day. Those 15 minutes added up, and they changed my life. Celebrate your progress. Here's something I wish I'd known earlier. Celebrate your progress. Learning a language is a journey, and every step forward is worth celebrating. When I reach small milestones, like learning 50 new words or having my first conversation in English, I celebrated. Sometimes I treated myself to my favorite dessert. Other times, I just took a moment to feel proud of myself. Pro tip: keep a progress journal. Write down your goals and the steps you're taking to achieve them. When you reach a milestone, celebrate. It could be something small, like a cup of coffee, or something big, like a day off to relax. Celebrating your progress keeps you motivated and reminds you how far you've come. My first English presentation. Here's a story I'll never forget. After months of practicing, I was asked to give a short presentation in English at work. I was so nervous that I practiced for days. On the day of the presentation, I stood in front of my colleagues, took a deep breath, and started speaking. I made a few mistakes, but I kept going. When I finished, everyone clapped, and my boss said, "Great job." That moment was a huge milestone for me. It showed me that all my hard work was paying off. After the presentation, I treated myself to a fancy dinner to celebrate. It was a small reward, but it meant so much to me. So, don't forget to celebrate your progress. Every step forward is a victory, and you deserve to feel proud of yourself. Laugh at your mistakes. Before we wrap up, here's one last tip. Laugh at your mistakes. Learning English is full of funny moments, and trust me, I've had my fair share of them. Once I was trying to say, "I'm full," after a big meal, but instead I said, "I'm fool." My friends laughed so hard, and I laughed with them. It was embarrassing at the time, but now it's one of my favorite stories to tell. Pro tip: don't take yourself too seriously. Mistakes are part of the process, and sometimes they make the best stories. So, the next time you make a mistake, laugh it off and keep going. You're learning, and that's what matters. The cheese incident. Here's a story that still makes me laugh. One day, I was at a restaurant and I wanted to order a cheese platter. But instead of saying, "Can I have the cheese platter, please?" I said, "Can I have the please platter?" The waiter looked confused, and I realized what I'd said. I quickly corrected myself, but we both ended up laughing. From that day on, I never forgot the word cheese. Mistakes like these are part of the journey. They might feel embarrassing at the moment, but they're also what make learning fun and memorable. So, embrace them. Learning English is a journey, and like any journey, it has its ups and downs. But remember, every mistake, every small win, and every moment of frustration is bringing you closer to your goal. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going, whether it's listening to a song, reading a book, or having a conversation. Every step counts. And don't forget to laugh along the way. So, from fear to fluency, you've got this. I believe in you, and I can't wait to hear about your progress. If you enjoyed today's story and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We've got so many more inspiring stories, practical tips, and fun lessons coming your way to help you master English and boost your confidence. And hey, if you're feeling extra motivated, leave a comment below and tell us, what's one mistake you've made while learning English, and what did you learn from it? We'd love to hear your stories and cheer you on. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, every step you take is progress. And we're here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. You've got this. Now go out there and start your journey. And remember, if I can do it, so can you. See you in the next video. Bye!